Welcome, everyone. I hope you're not too sleepy from lunch. Just to wake everybody up, can we do a quick round of applause for yourselves? All right. Nice. All right. Now we're wired in. Okay. That is not the next slide. Well, yes, it is. Okay. So welcome to Building AI Data Apps with Snowflake, dbt, and Sigma. A little bit about me. I am the head of data and demo engineering at Sigma Computing. I used to be formerly a top 1% dbt Slack contributor. Not on there so much anymore. I'm sorry. I've been using dbt since right around 2018. I also helped teach an UpLimit course focused on analytics engineering. If anybody knows Emily Hawkins, she leads that course. She's awesome. What are we going to do today? Going to get you all engaged. We're going to do a quick survey. We'll talk a bit about Sigma and dbt. Then we'll jump into some of the use cases we deploy internally at Sigma. Then we'll talk about, how do we optimize performance with all of this fun stuff. Then we'll get into how we do this together with the business. Sound good? Cool. Okay. AI. This is the whole reason I wanted to do this, just to have this visual. Generative AI. By show of hands, who has been doing anything with Snowflake Cortex AI or anything in Databricks in production? Okay. See a few hands. Okay. Right on. Cool. Just to kind of call it out, we are doing a lot. We're actually rolling this stuff out. So this is a snippet from Snowflake's recent earnings call. Their CEO gave us a quick shout out that, hey, we've been using this in production to summarize and categorize a bunch of different things across our go-to-market. So just wanted to let you know we're actually doing this. This is real. You can check it out on his last earnings call. Okay, enough of that. A little bit about Sigma, if this is the first time you've heard about us. At our core, we are a spreadsheet-like UI that pushes down everything to SQL, runs it against your cloud data warehouse. So you get all the performance, all the scale, all the speed, and the security from your cloud data warehouse, whether it be Snowflake or Databricks, BigQuery, all those fun players. And a little bit about the data team at Sigma. What do we use? So we have all of our production data in MySQL, a bunch of third-party tools I'm sure you're all familiar with. We leverage Fivetran to move all of that into Snowflake. We have some telemetry in S3 as well. Then we use dbt Cloud for orchestration. And all of that, after we clean data, test it, document it, deploy it, it's immediately available in Sigma for our stakeholders to consume. All right, enough of that. Let's actually talk about AI and all this fun stuff. So we're going to go over 3 use cases that are deployed in production at Sigma. The first one around ideal customer profile propensity, so how likely, if we go to talk to a prospect, how likely are they going to be interested in what we're offering? We'll do a cool use case around our partnerships team and how they are analyzing gong calls to understand whether a partner was involved or not. And then we'll get into what we call our micro slices, trying to better understand, we have a lot of customers. If we're talking to a prospect, who do they look like in our customer base to have a better conversation? Okay, propensity, ICP propensity. Super high level, we have a bunch of data coming from a bunch of different places, landing that in Snowflake, and then we're leveraging a few different LLM functions directly from Snowflake Cortex. So we have our complete function, we're summarizing some data, and then we're also using extract answer. All of that information feeds into our Sigma AI model. So we have all of our free-form text summarized, and then we're putting that into a regression model to get some propensity. And the most important part of all of this, there's really cool things we do as a data team, but it's really that last part on the right, this territory management workbook. What this ends up being, and this is just a quick snippet of it, but so in this example, we have Kelly Manning, who's a sales rep at Sigma. She gets a list of all of her accounts that she cares about, and we give her a few different scores. So the overall rank and the likelihood we think that embedding will be a good fit for them. What ends up happening with the Sigma input table, basically a spreadsheet that you can write directly back to Snowflake or Databricks, and as she's going through to understand her accounts, she can very easily mark an account and say, hey, this thing's disqualified. I don't know why your score came out this way, but it's just not something that I want to go after. And so we use that immediately feeding back into the model to create this feedback loop, right? You can get hallucinations, you can get bad scores, these things happen. And our ability to better understand that more easily, you don't have to have all of these conversations like, hey, this thing stinks, can you help me out? We're putting that all in our input table that is immediately available in Snowflake so we can do whatever it is we need to as we see fit. Cool. All right, let's talk about partnerships. I'm something of a prompt engineer. Been working on my meme game. I hope these are landing. But so one of the things we haven't really talked about is just how to invoke these Cortex functions. And so obviously, everybody here loves macros. In keeping with our dry principle, one of the things that we do internally at Sigma is we allow folks like Arena, who's an analyst on the partnership team, to experiment with these prompts, try to better understand what works well. And then once we do that, we push it into dbt and then create a macro. And so in this example, we're using system prompts that are available as part of Cortex. And then we're just keeping this as a macro. So throughout many models, we can just invoke this exact function with the exact system prompt that we care about. Super fun. The result of this, we've saved tens or hundreds of hours combing through all the different GONG calls to understand, hey, based on these conversations, was a partner involved? How am I doing on time? I always speed through all these things. Okay, a little bit more on the micro slices. So in the last example, we talked a little bit about how to have a function and then use it more easily. One of the things to highlight here and something that we learned, this was kind of a recent addition from Snowflake. Oftentimes when you're playing around with Cortex and trying to get responses, you'll get a lot of extra text. The output isn't really exactly what you need. And so specifying to provide a JSON output gives very much better structured returns, so you can more easily use your data. Oftentimes we'll get an answer and it'll say, based on the question you asked, here's what I think. And so we found that using or specifying to return JSON output makes it a lot easier to be consumed downstream. Okay, that was super fast. Let's talk a little bit about things we've learned on the performance and optimization side. So ironically, I couldn't find a good meme here. I don't know, nickel dime. Is bigger really better? One of the things Snowflake calls out specifically in their documentation, but just to make this really well known, bigger is not better as it relates to invoking these LLM functions. So scaling your warehouse has zero impact to the performance of your LLM calls. If you think, oh, let me just roll out a 3XL warehouse, it'll be faster, the answer is no, it won't. So often what we do is specify an extra small warehouse because, again, these are external functions that your compute plays no role in. Okay, one of the other things we experimented with and found a lot of success with, this idea of kind of hacking a chunk. So if you've played around with these Cortex functions, you'll notice the external function call in the query plan. It takes a pretty long time. And so what we wanted to do is say, we're using dbt Cloud for orchestration. I don't really want to have this model run for 48 hours. Like I want to get the results, want to start to validate everything looks good. And so what we decided to do is make use of kind of hacking the incremental block and just adding a limit. So on that line right below the from statement, we're saying, hey, if this is the first time the table's built, if it's a full refresh, just limit to 1,000 rows. That's all we care about. Let's have the results returned, create the table within 15 minutes or 10 minutes, whatever it might be, based on the amount of data you're trying to send through to those LLM calls. And then we can run it incrementally. So once an hour, or whatever it might be, that incremental block is just saying, hey, based on the model that's been created, do any opportunities already exist? If they do, skip over them. So this is a really beneficial thing we found when dealing with a lot of tokens, a lot of text to summarize. So good tip. We found a lot of use for it. Okay, cost. I'm sure everybody loves talking about cost. It's always top of mind. Snowflake offers this out of the box in their account usage view. And so this is a Sigma workbook, because you can use Sigma anything in Snowflake. And so very easy to get set up to understand on a day-by-day basis. You'll be looking for the AI services service type. And so you can get a day-by-day breakdown. I'm not sure if many folks have as many accounts as we do at Sigma. Our sales engineering team uses it. Our engineering team uses it to validate changes. And so it's a really helpful way to understand if somebody's trying to blow up your cost model, because cost is important to all of us. Okay, section 5. Wow, we're only at 10 minutes. Rocking through this. Okay. Oh, I didn't do the AI is only for data teams. I've heard this a little bit. The answer is wrong. AI is not only for data teams. I think our core value prop, the way we think about data internally at Sigma and Sigma as a product, our ability to bring the users into the platform, have them collaborating with folks that are a little bit more technical, meeting them where they are with spreadsheets. We immediately allow for folks to be able to do this with AI. And so we have a feature called custom functions. So anything that you can, any query you can write in Snowflake, you can write in Sigma. And what a custom function allows you to do, if you have something like this, calling the complete function, we can make this custom function here, which is using the same name, complete. And when an individual user goes to look in Sigma, they can search for complete. They don't have to worry about how to actually write this formula. And then they could just specify any prompt they'd like. They can also look at other columns in the Sigma workbook as well. And I think I have an example here. Nope, not that one. But it's a good meme, so I'll hold it. But yeah, it makes it really easy. Again, anything you can do in Snowflake, you can do in Sigma or Databricks. All we do is just take what you've done and run it against the warehouse. And so along those lines, another way to bring your business users right to AI. So this is an example. We run our pipeline forecasting. So as our sales team, week over week is thinking about the likelihood that their deals will close and things like that. One of the things that obviously everyone does is fill out a bunch of notes in Salesforce. And so in this example, we have a control there, which is just an open-ended text form. And in that dynamic text element right here, we're passing through that same complete function. So I, as the VP of sales, if I'm trying to go and review 100 deals and I just want to ask something like, was there any pain identified in this deal? We could see that we can very easily get a result back. Again, nothing that the business user had to set up, but they can immediately invoke this, and it's pretty cool. Okay. Did I lose a couple slides? I feel like I have a lot of things in here. I talked about this earlier, but I think one of the most important things when working with AI and dealing with hallucinations and just like trying to iterate and figure out how this thing all works is the notion of a feedback loop, right? And Sigma's input tables, which again allow you to take data in the warehouse, create a net new table, and add your additional context. This is where we find a lot of success. So in this example, we're looking at that micro slice example, and this is Sigma, so it's not all that interesting. But you can see this little button right here, good result, bad result. Now it seems super trivial, but what this ends up doing is, if we look at our ability to use workbook actions, so all I'm saying is, if I'm a salesperson and I see the results and I think they're a bunch of crap or a load of crap, all I can do is click this button, good result or bad result. What that ends up doing for us is it writes it to an input table. I could see the customer, and then I can look that up to say, okay, did we do something wrong? Was there a hallucination? Anything like that. And so, again, I think the point to drive home here is oftentimes you'll find these things happening in spreadsheets. People will be exporting data, sending this over like, hey, this was bad. But for us at Sigma, using input tables, we can bring all of that directly in Snowflake. I don't have to go run around looking for people. It's super easy to do. That is not the end. There was a bunch more, but maybe we lost it. That is the majority of things I wanted to cover. We've got some good memes here. In review, it's like AI and LLMs in 15 minutes. We've been doing this in production for, I guess it's been 5 to 6 months now. We walked through a couple different ways to save on cost, a couple different ways to figure out how to limit the amount of data you're processing. I think ultimately the biggest thing to take away from this is, you can do all of your things in dbt, you can optimize there, but then the more that you can get your business involved using something like Sigma, makes for a lot of success. So that's all I got. I'm happy to answer questions, but that's 15 minutes gone and good. Yeah, we got a question.
Yeah, so we love Sigma. We have a
Nice.
lot of analysts who use it. One of the big problems that we have is they'll reach out to the engineering team because they have questions like, hey, where does this data exist in this model? Could we create a function in Sigma where you can pass in the schema name, the table name, create like an AI chatbot where the users can come in and say, hey, where does this exist? And it can tell you exactly based off of table scans.
Yes, And I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about this one, but yeah, I guess we're all friends here, right? We are, just don't tell our co-founders that I said this, but we are working on a feature called Ask Sigma, which will read all your DBT metadata and allow you to ask natural language questions to say, hey, how many opportunities did we win this year? And we'll kind of go through it in an iterative process. Here's the table I found, here's why I found it, here's me applying some filters. So it's very much a collaborative process. So if you want to work on it now, you can, but it'll probably be obsolete in I don't know how long. I can't answer that. Yeah.
Is that applied semantic layer or is that independent?
Independent. Yeah. This is great, Q&A.
Did this initiative for like mostly around kind of the chat and feedback loop get driven by the technical side of Sigma or driven by the business side?
Did it get driven by the technical side, so us, the data team, or the business side? It's an interesting thing at Sigma. The business kind of drives everything we do as a data team. What I mean by that is, everyone at Sigma has the ability to create, and so they're constantly iterating. Like Mike Girardi's in the back; he's our VP of Sales. He and I will be in workbooks trying to figure out what exactly we want to do. So a lot of the feedback came from, hey, we're having some problems and we want to make it better. So the business kind of informed that, like, hey, let's add an input table that would allow us to move more quickly. Yeah. Cool. Any other questions? Awesome. Well, thanks everybody for coming. I know this was 16 minutes. That's all we need. I'm happy to answer any additional questions, but thanks again.